Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you all for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Today is the great Black Friday. It's weird that we still have Black Friday, because Black Friday deals start in October. They start the last week of October. So Black Friday isn't really a day where everybody goes out, the whole celebration of oh, hey, let's wait till midnight and let's go out and shopping with your friends that we would do 5 years ago, which just isn't a thing anymore. And Black Friday deals have started a long time ago. I remember everybody would even 7-8 years ago, you wouldn't get any deals or anything up until Thanksgiving, and then as soon as Thanksgiving was over, it was all right, everybody get ready, at midnight we're gonna go out and we're gonna do our shopping or whatever. Now it's stores open at 5:30 on Thanksgiving Day and go overnight, and the deals start at November 1st or October 31st. And all these sales are going on, so it just took the whole fun out of Black Friday. So I sit here and I'm kind of bummed about Black Friday isn't a thing, but then I also remember that people were legitimately dying on Black Friday, and then it's maybe it was a good thing. I don't know. We're kind of splitting hairs here, but I am actually recording this on a Wednesday, so I'm doing this the day before Thanksgiving, and it's funny because it's only been 2 days since I recorded our last show, and there was already way more news that happened in the 2 days since I recorded. Not even 2 days. It's probably less than 48 hours than the whole weekend where, I was struggling to find any single topic on Monday's show. Hopefully that was decent. Hopefully you guys were able to enjoy that one. But going into today, the biggest news was the whole, the whole issue with Randy Arozarena getting arrested in Mexico. I'm not going to dive into that because there's really no need. I mean, there's all the stories I've read, there's very little information. So there's really no need for me to speculate anything. It is what it is at this point. It made him look like he was he doesn't look like a bad person, which is all that matters. And I don't think it's going to affect his career at all, because there's been people who've done a lot worse and have gotten paid a lot of money. So I just hope everything gets straightened out. Hopefully he's back in full force by the start of next season, because I think he's really building on something that's really special. And he definitely got himself hundreds of millions of dollars throughout his career. That's just an easy call. But in other news, so the word on the street is that the Yankees are looking to shop Luke Voit. Now, there was a part of me that initially, when Luke Voit came up in trade talks, I was first things first, why? Why? Why would you shop Luke Voit? He's a consistent power threat. He had his explosive year this year, and just baseline off what he's done the past couple years, I was like, man, this guy's great. Like, why would the Yankees want to shop him? So I went on his baseball reference page, and I was just looking at something, and then once that happened, and I sat on it for a couple, like, literally a day, I was like, this actually makes a ton of sense. And here's why. Because Luke Voit is a lot older than we expected. I thought Luke Voit, when he came into the league, was like 23. No, he came into the league in 2017 at 26 years old. And he is going to be entering his age 30 season next year. And he's not finished a full... Like, last year was the first year he's actually played a full season in the bigs. Which surprised me a lot. So in 2017 to 26, he played 62 games. In 2018 at 27, he played a total of 47, 8 with the St. Louis Cardinals, where he batted a whopping 182. And then he went to the Yankees and batted 333 in 39 games. He had 14 homers, 33 RBIs, really turned the corner, became that big power threat that really burst onto the scene with the Yankees. Then in 2019, he had an injury-filled season. He only played 118 games, 21 homers, 62 RBIs, batted 263. And then this year, obviously it's an abbreviated season. We don't know how much he would have played actually, but he had 56 homers, or 56 games, sorry. He played in 56 games. He had 59 hits, 22 homers, 52 RBIs, and he finished 9th in this year's MVP voting. I was kind of surprised by that, like 9th in the MVP voting. But yeah, he finished right behind Brandon Lau and Tim Anderson. I thought he would have got a lot higher than that, but it is what it is. So this is his best season. And initially, once again, I was thinking, like, you're going to trade he looks like a consistent power threat that's going to play for, a long time. He's 1 year younger than Giancarlo Stanton. He is 1 year younger than Giancarlo Stanton. That blew my mind. Like, we look at the Yankees as like this young team, but they're really not. They're really kind of older. Let's look at Aaron Judge, for example. Aaron Judge is actually younger than Luke Voit. And he's been on the scene for a lot longer. So, well, not a lot longer, but he's actually, been on the scene. So, one thing that I was thinking, I was like, man, why are you going to trade Luke Voit when, Giancarlo's been injured? Aaron Judge has spent the last 3 seasons injury plagued. Like, you don't know if you're ever going to get a healthy season from Aaron Judge ever again. Like, why would you trade him? And I was thinking about it like this, because trading Luke Voit, you can get a big haul for right now. Like, you could get a serviceable first baseman, and then you can wait until your big prospect Jason Dominguez comes up. Because I was looking at Jason Dominguez, and he made noise this year by being the guy. Like, he just looks jacked, like absolutely jacked. Hitting from the left side, like, he looks like a huge power threat. I went to his page. He's only 17 years old. He was born February 7th of 2003. So what I think that they're going to do is they're going to trade Luke Voit, like, this year, either in the offseason or during the season before, at like the trade deadline or something, because he's so young, like, service-wise. He's not arbitration eligible until 2022, which means he will be 32 years old when he's arbitration eligible. Not bad. Not bad at all. Or 31 years old. 31 years old when he's arbitration eligible, and then he will be 34 the first time that he's a free agent. So you pretty much have this guy for his whole career. essentially. And once he gets to 34 years old, unless there's a universal DH, he's got about 2 contracts left. I would say like a 3-year deal and then a 4-year deal. Maybe he can end at 40, if he's able to stay healthy and all that kind of stuff. But, being able to sell a guy who has so much potential and is such a low contract, you can get somebody really good who is serviceable until you can get Jason Dominguez up, because really you're only looking at 2 to 3 years, really. Because in his prospect rankings on Baseball America, he was 38th best prospect. In Major League Baseball, he was the 54th prospect. And in Baseball Prospectus, he was at the number 46 rank on the prospect list. He's 5'10", 190, which I don't believe at all. I do not believe that this guy is 190. I was on his Instagram page, and there's no way this dude is 190 pounds. He is humongous. That has to be something wrong. There's something wrong with that. I refuse to believe it, but that's beside the point. Just lefty bat, huge, undeniable power. He can bat from both sides of the plate. Actually, he's a switch hitter. He throws right-handed. I feel like you can get him. Obviously, if you can get him at first base, that would be perfect. Absolutely, probably the best thing that you could do if you were the Yankees. Get somebody serviceable. They bought super low with Luke Voit, obviously, because, he was batting 182 when they got him. I don't know what the trade was. I don't know. I don't think I can find that on Baseball Reference, the trade that he actually the St. Louis Cardinals traded by the Cardinals with international bonus slot money to the Yankees for Giovanni Gallegos and Chasen Shreve. So yeah, they sold very low, and they are able to sell them again, which is awesome. Or they bought low, sell high. Sorry, and then let's see. Yeah, his salary with the Yankees was $573,000. $573,000. That is so low and so interchangeable with pretty much anybody. So I would say what they would do if I were the Yankees, or if Brian Cashman, because I've been reading the book. I forget what the book is actually called, but it was about the 2017 Yankees and how Brian Cashman really built them up, through the farm system and everything like that. So if what I've read about Brian Cashman is true, and I can take that to heart, like, this guy's, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to get dealt. Now, Luke Voit says, like, that there was a quote in an article that I read where he said, like, this is just what baseball is. You have a good season, you get your name thrown around on the trade block. Everybody's had their name thrown out on the trade block at some point. Like, it is what it is. It comes with the territory of being a baseball player. It's a good way of thinking of it, but I really think it's going to happen. If they were able to get Voit out, get someone, like I said, who's serviceable at first base, and then just wait until Jason Dominguez comes up, because we've seen the 19-year-old come up. We've seen the 18-year-old. We've seen an 18-year-old in the bigs. We've seen a 19-year-old in the bigs. And we've seen a ton of 20-year-olds in the bigs. And if you're looking at it like that, like, he's going to be 18 years old by the time spring training's, by the time that spring training's here, he'll be 18. Then, if he spends a year and he's able to, really have a good minor league season and build upon that, he could be in the bigs next season. I doubt it. I highly, highly doubt that. But, if he's able to build upon that, and you could see him by 2022. And if Jason Dominguez is able to come up by 19 years old and play the first base position, there's no need for Luke Voit, especially at 32, and he's arbitration eligible. He's going to be asking for a ton of money. And I would rather have, Jason Dominguez, who looks just incredible. I would rather have him at 20, under contract for the next 6 years before I really have to pay him, over Luke Voit, who is 32 years old and is going to be asking for a ton of money when he hasn't really finished a full season yet. Now, that could change. That could absolutely change. But, you know, especially with the Yankees' injury history the way it is, the fact that everybody keeps going down left and right, I wouldn't want to pay Luke Voit all that money. I could see why his name's getting floated around in the trade block. Maybe pair him with Clint Frazier and get somebody big. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And then, lastly, a great bit of news is Mike Soroka was back in throwing, which is really nice. As everybody knows, he tore his Achilles this year. It was a really horrible injury. Probably, to be fair, that injury probably kept the Braves out of the World Series. I'm not going to say it kept them from winning a World Series, but it definitely kept them out of the World Series, because if you put Mike Soroka in there, they're winning a game. They're winning one more game. That's just how it is. Like, Mike Soroka was the man, and he was every bit as good this year as he was the year before. In 2019, he finished 6th in the Cy Young Award race, 2nd in the NL Rookie of the Year voting. He had a 2.68 ERA, 174 and 2/3 innings as a rookie. Obviously, you know, there's no timetable provided for his return. Thankfully, I'm glad they're not pushing anything back on him too quickly. You know, especially with the addition of Charlie Morton, which I'll get to in the next segment. But, you know, it really boosts our starting rotation. And, you know, if we can get him back probably by, like, the All-Star break or a little bit later, I'm completely fine with that. You know, it'll be awesome to see what happens. The one thing that is kind of different is because we can't compare it to other Achilles injuries in the past, because Zach Britton and Adam Wainwright, they were able to return in 5 to 6 months after, you know, tearing their Achilles. But the thing is, Mike Soroka's is a lot different. Mike Soroka's, you know, he tore his Achilles on his push-off foot. And all pitchers, like, if you play baseball and you put a lot of stress on your Achilles when you're doing the push-off, and especially Mike Soroka, who doesn't really lead with the hip. He's more of like a fallout kind of guy. He leads with the shoulder instead of his hip. So there's a lot of drive coming off that back foot. And Soroka, or Wainwright and Zach Britton, when they tore their Achilles injuries, it was off their landing legs. So there's less tension, I would say, on the Achilles, on the landing leg, than there is on the push-off leg. But, you know, we'll see. It could be different. It could be exactly the same. Who knows? I'm just hoping that he's able to come back and pitch in 2021 and see where the Braves will go. You know, we got Charlie Morton for 1 year, $15 million, and that is going to be... I'm going to get more into that on the next segment, so I'm going to be taking a quick break, and I'll be right back to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays and what the heck they're doing. So I will be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alrighty, everybody, we are back. So let's talk about what the Rays are doing. So the Rays have made headlines mainly because they have let go of Hunter Renfroe. They've let go of Charlie Morton, Mike Zunino. You know, so they've let go of some of the big names that they've had from their World Series run. And now Blake Snell is on the trade market. So, like we mentioned in the last segment with Luke Voit, you know, everybody's name gets thrown around on the trade market, and it's not even the first time that Blake Snell has been thrown out on the market. If you remember, back in 2018, right after he won the Cy Young Award, he was tossed around on the trade market. And the reason why Blake Snell obviously is not is a hot commodity on the trade market is because he is under contract for the next 3 years through 2023 at a very reasonable price range. So Snell is set to earn $10.5 million next year, $12.5 in 2022, and $16 million in 2023. Blake Snell has easily, if he's on the market, he's easily the second best pitcher on the market, because Trevor Bauer obviously is number one, as we mentioned over and over again. But, with Taijuan Walker, Jake Odorizzi, Masahiro Tanaka still left on the board after Charlie Morton has left and signed with Atlanta. But I'll get to that in a second. But, with Blake Snell, it's maybe the best time to trade him, I would say, because he's 27. He's got he's got 3 years left on his deal, so he's locked up until his age, probably 31 season. And, with the way that he looked like he checked out after Game 6, like when he got pulled after 5 1/3 by Kevin Cash in Game 6 of the World Series when he was cruising, he looked like he checked out. And that's something that we can sit back as fans and see, like, maybe that is irreparable. There's been teams like in basketball, we see it all the time, where, the front office has just lost all connection with their star player. And they go, I want out. Because the front office just doesn't get what I'm trying to do. And, it's something that, Blake Snell is, he could be in the market for. He could be one of those guys who just sits back and goes, well, y'all didn't trust me to finish out a game that I started, especially a game so pivotal as a Game 6 of the World Series. Like, Game 6 is the game where everything crazy happens. Game 6 is the stuff of legends in all sport, and in basketball too. Like, I bring back basketball because basketball is like my second favorite sport behind baseball. But you have like the Curt Schilling games. We'll get to more on Curt Schilling later in the next segment. But he has the bloody sock game. He has the game with the Arizona Diamondbacks where he is the starter. I think he started Game 6. He was either Game 6 or Game 7, but I know he pitched in both. Of 2001 with the Diamondbacks against the Yankees, where they really needed a win, and he took the mound and he got them there. Game 6 was, for all my basketball fans out there, the Clay game in 2016, where the Golden State Warriors were down 3-2, and they were in OKC, and he just lit the place up. And I think he dropped like 39 or something like that. It was just unstoppable from 3-point range. And then you have, Damian Lillard, his game-winning shots in Game 6. You have, you have just giant games left and right. I think the Luka Doncic step back game winner was in Game 6 this year against the LA Clippers. You got big shot Robert Horry. He had the shot in Sacramento against Sacramento. That was Game 4, but he had other big shots in that series that were games like in Game 6, some big game winners. Game 6 is the stuff of legends. And the fact that they took out Blake Snell before he was able to actually get to the point where he could, cement himself as one of the biggest Game 6 performances in the history of sports, that's a big thing. And Blake Snell is a person who knows that. Like, he's not oblivious to what Game 6 means. He's a fan of the game, and being a pitcher, he knows. So that could absolutely sour everything. And with that, you're risking him not caring. Like, really just not caring and phoning in the next 2 years. Because we've seen it before where guys have really stunk the past, 2 years prior to their contract year, and then their contract year comes, they dominate because they actually have something breathing a fire into them because they know they have a big contract coming, and then they go into free agency and they leave. It's this big thing. It was like, oh, Blake Snell, like, it's like, oh, so and so's on the market, we're gonna put him on the trade market. It's like, yeah, well, now you don't have enough, like, now you don't have a lot of like leverage on the market because everybody knows that he's gone. It's like, listen, man, he's gone after this year. He's not re-signing. So why would I trade you a ton of assets when, we have the option of getting him next season when he is an unrestricted free agent and can go wherever he wants to go? That's something that the Rays got to keep in mind. Having him locked up for 3 full years at such a reasonable price range when he's coming off, 2 seasons ago being the Cy Young Award winner and showing probably the best of his capabilities in Game 6, it's kind of a no-brainer to get rid of him. You can't sell him any higher, and that the Rays aren't going to pay him because Blake Snell's going to want money. He's going to want so much money in return. He signed that 5-year, $50 million extension when he was 25. Like, if you think about it like that, at 25, 5 years, $50 million, he hadn't won a Cy Young yet. He won a Cy Young the year that he signed that extension. So, it is what it is. He's gonna want that big money. The Rays have traded their big aces in the past. Like, they've traded David Price, they've traded James Shields. They've traded their big name guys. So this isn't something that's new for the Tampa Bay Rays. They know they're like the Oakland A's in a way, where they're the smart team that buys low and sells high for more prospects and all that kind of stuff. And if Blake Snell just decides to phone in these next couple years, then what are they going to get in return? This is the most that they're ever going to get, and especially with teams that are so close and so hungry to make it to that next step, like a team that's fully loaded with prospects, kind of like the Atlanta Braves. The Braves just got Charlie Morton. I'm not saying this as like a homer take or anything like that, but the Braves market is incredible. Like, their farm system is great. We have 3 of our top 10 prospects are catchers. What was one thing that was hindering the Tampa Bay Rays was their catching situation. We have 3 Shane Langeliers, we have Alex Jackson, we have William Contreras. I hope that we keep William Contreras, but because I'm a huge fan of Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras has been my favorite catcher in the bigs since he came up in 2015, I think. In 2016, I was fully aware. I was like, listen, I'm taking him right behind Yachty. I'm going Yachty 1, and I'm taking Wilson 2 as the best catchers in the league. I was saying that 4 years ago, and now, the fact that we have his brother chilling in the farm system, I'm like, okay, then let's cook. Shane Langeliers, he's kind of the one who's made the most noise. Alex Jackson, offensively he's not that much of a threat, but defensively, he's been pretty solid. We have a ton of pitching prospects that we can give up. We have a ton of relievers that we can give up. Patrick Weigel's one of them. I don't know if he's ever going to come up to the bigs with the Atlanta Braves unless, maybe this upcoming season, because we got Shane Green left. But so maybe we'll see Weigel come up and, crack the bigs again. But, the Braves, they have a huge opportunity of going and getting Blake Snell. I said this, I don't remember which episode it was, but it was a few weeks ago. I was saying, hey, Blake Snell, watch out for the San Francisco Giants. The San Francisco Giants are a sneaky team that makes sense for Blake Snell to go to. I have a feeling, there's something in my gut, I don't know why, But there's something in my gut that's just telling me that the Giants are going to come out. They're going to get Blake Snell. They're going to find a way to sign George Springer. And they're going to be right back in the mix like they were, in the early 2010s. Like, they'll just find a way to get back into the mix. I was telling you guys a few weeks ago, their lineup's not bad. Especially if the universal DH stays and they're able to put Buster Posey at the universal DH and have, Joey Bart learn the game from Buster Posey, or have Posey only catch, half the time. Maybe Buster catches 82 games or 81 games and, Joey Bart catches the other 81. Just learning the game, learning how to call pitches from every pitcher. And, because let's be real, Buster Posey you can interchange him and Yachty 1 and 2. Personally, I like Yachty more, so I would take him as the best catcher of the 2010s, but you can't argue that Buster Posey was the second best catcher of the 2010s. Some could argue that he's first, but he's no lower than number 2. That guy was amazing. The fact that he was able to call pitches for 3 different World Series winning staffs is remarkable. Like, that just doesn't happen all the time. So Buster Posey is definitely up there. And having Joey Bart being the offensive threat that he is, and having to, getting to learn the call of the game from one of the game's best is something that you can't really, you can't really sleep on. And then you still have, Brandon Belt. You still have Mike Yastrzemski. You have Solano. You got, I think, isn't Joe Panik still on the Giants? Don't quote me, or if I'm wrong, just forget it. But I think Joe Panik is still on the Giants. I think he has some good qualities to him. Whatever, I don't really know. I never really watched the Giants, but unless they're playing like the Dodgers or something like that, either the Dodgers or the Padres. That's the only time I really watch the Giants. But they have pieces there, obviously, because they were in the playoff hunt until the very last week of the season with the Milwaukee Brewers. So I just have a feeling, man, that George Springer's going to get paid. They are a big market team. They don't spend like a big market team, but they are. Everybody's saying, the Mets obviously are a team that, but with Steve Cohen and what he's doing, he's looking more to spend on the free agent market and not give up any assets. So I don't think Blake Snell is going to be able to, they're going to be able to work out a trade for Blake Snell. Obviously, with the pitching staff the way it is, nobody's going to want to give Blake Snell to that team without getting somebody big in return, especially if you're able to pair him with Stroman and Syndergaard and whatever. I mean, Syndergaard's coming off Tommy John, but Tommy John surgery doesn't do what it once did. With that, and then pairing him with Jacob deGrom, good gravy, that would be insane. So, yeah, you're going to have, this is a king's ransom. If they're trying to get Blake Snell out of Tampa Bay, they're going to need a lot of money, they're going to need a lot of prospects, especially with Charlie Morton going to the Atlanta Braves. Now, if the Atlanta Braves are able to get Mike Soroka back, and even probably 85% of what he was in the first 2 seasons or season and a half, that would be incredible. To have those 4, Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson, Max Fried, and Mike Soroka coming in, and being able to pair it with one more vet at the back end, maybe we can re-sign Felix Hernandez, see what happens there. Re-sign Cole Hamels, see what happens with him. Being able to teach Mike Soroka what he can do, a little bit more, just like the big games. He's there, but there's probably some more questions that he needs to ask that, Cole Hamels, he's been there, done that. Bryce Wilson, he came in and pitched a phenomenal game in Game 4 of the NLDS. There's so many places that we can go. I would like us to pick up one more vet. I think it was a very affordable deal for the 1 year. I would love for us to still go after Trevor Bauer. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. So, Charlie Morton's over in Atlanta. He's definitely someone that Atlanta needs. Just looking at his baseball reference page, last year he had a little hiccup, as we all know. He had a 4.74 ERA, but I mean his 3 years since he came out since he broke out with the Houston Astros back in 2017, a 3.62, a 3.13, and a 3.05. He's had a 14-7 record, 15-3, and then 16-6. He was an All-Star in 18 and 19. He's had 200 strikeouts per year. Since 2008. In 2018-2019, he had 201 Ks, 240 Ks. Let's see, he had 146 innings in 2017, 167 innings in 2018, 194 in 2019. Again, he's kind of old, but, you know, I think that with a new change in scenery and a new reason to compete, and the biggest stage, and he knows how close that they got last year, I feel like Charlie Morton's going to come in, and he's definitely going to be that big name piece that that the Braves really missed out on this year. But you know, with the way that the Braves pitching staff gets hurt, I just hope to God he can stay healthy, especially as a 38-year-old, and he's going to be he's probably going to be our opening day starter. Kind of like he was this year with the Tampa Bay Rays. I just hope that he can stay healthy and hopefully he can finish out his career with the Atlanta Braves, and hopefully he can point us in the direction of a championship. All right, everybody, I'm going to be taking my next break, and I'll be right back to talk about the Hall of Fame ballot. The Hall of Fame ballot just came out, and there's been weird speculation on who's going to get in, who's not going to get in, why not. I'm going to talk about who I like and who I don't like in the next segment. I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Alright, everybody, we are back. So let's talk about the Hall of Fame ballot. So the Hall of Fame ballot was just released recently, and I was looking at it, and there was a lot of forgettable names on the list. I think this is one of the weirdest years I've seen in a very long time. So if you guys are unfamiliar with who is on the list, let's see, I'll run through it real quick. So we got Curt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Omar Vizquel, Scott Rowland, Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, Todd Hamilton, Manny Ramirez, Jeff Kent, Andrew Jones, Sammy Sosa, Andy Pettitte, Bobby Abreu, Tim Hudson, Mark Burley, Torrey Hunter, Dan Herron, Barry Zito, Aramis Ramirez, Shane Victorino, AJ Burnett, Nick Swisher, LaTroy Hawkins, and Michael Kadire. So out of the first off, I'm going to talk about the guys who are coming back on the ballot, and then we'll get into the first-timers who I think they should go in. First off, I think this is a guarantee. I would need to check the odds to see who's getting in, but or what the odds are of him getting in. Curt Schilling is in. You need 75% of the vote to get into the Hall of Fame. Last year he had 70%. You don't top out at 70%. If you got 70%, and then it's a year like this where nobody really stands out, you're getting in. You're just getting in. Especially when you had such big games, so much of your, career is been like regarded in one of the best moments, like some of the best moments of baseball history. And the only reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame is because of him on Twitter. Like, if you really think about it, like, just the kind of person he is on the internet has kept him out of the Hall of Fame. Which, I mean, I understand in today's day and age, but I mean, also on the other hand, if we're doing this on like an ethics base and not absolute 100% talent, then we would have to close down the Hall of Fame, because there were so many years, like, of so many like years of baseball. I mean, it's been around since the 1800s, and, you know, to the point where there's an era that starts at 1900. I forget what the era is called because there's so many different eras, but you know, it's you know, but there was a time where the only race that could play professional Major League Baseball was white. So for years, for probably, I would say, when I forget what year the color barrier was broken. I know it was like Jackie Robinson broke it, obviously, but I don't remember the exact year. But I think it was in like the 30s or 40s where he broke the color barrier. So like 30 to 40 years in the 1900s went by. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, you know, Joe DiMaggio, Jimmy Fox, like all these guys were playing in a strictly white baseball league. So ethically, like, we got to take ethics out of it, because before there was like a set time in baseball, everything was different. Like everybody had weird and unethical ideologies and just ideas of what life was supposed to be like. So we can't sit here and be like, you know, sit on a moral high ground when we're walking around and like praising these people who had pretty much the same thought process, or probably even worse of a thought process than Curt Schilling. It's just he chooses to put it on the internet. That's my take. That's my 2 cents. You can think of it however you want to, but this is, like, I don't know if anybody here, if you listen to this, you definitely listen to Barstool's Starting Nine. Dallas Braden says, this is a museum of the game. No more, no less. You know, it's a museum documenting what the game is and who were the best in the game, playing the game of baseball. So I don't care, like, you can sit on your high horse and say, like, oh, steroids this, steroids that, whatever. I personally don't care about steroids, the steroid era. If it's really that big of a deal, expand the Hall of Fame, make a separate wing of the Hall of Fame dedicated to the best players of the steroid era, because it is a museum. Don't wipe it out of the existence. Don't pretend that it never happened. It did happen. I was alive for it. A lot of people, if you're listening to this, you were most likely alive through the steroid era. So document it in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if it is. I've never been there. But don't just sit there and keep players out who tested positive when they were easily some of the best players in the game. Like, document it. It is what it is. So Curt Schilling, guaranteed he's in. With my stance of steroids and how I don't care, I would put in Clemens and Bonds. Let's see. Omar Vizquel is one of the best defensive players in the game. I don't think that warrants... He's kind of weird. Omar Vizquel, I don't think I would vote for Omar Vizquel. Like, to be completely honest, I mean, his OPS plus, he was below average in OPS plus. Let's see. I mean, I get that numbers, I really shouldn't be talking about numbers like this, but he had 2,000 hits, 2,077 hits, I'm looking at the wrong guy. That was, what was it? So he had 2,877 hits. Okay, better. 80 homers, 900 RBIs, 400 steals. He had 1,000 walks, a 272 career average. Let's see, how many Gold Gloves did this guy actually win? Let's click on Omar Vizquel. 3-time All-Star, 11-time Gold Glover. Let's see, Gold Glove. He was only a 3-time All-Star. Played till he was 45. A 3-time All-Star. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I would leave Omar Vizquel off the list, from my list at least. Scott Rowland, no. Billy Wagner, he had 400 career saves, a 47-40 record, a 2.31 ERA. He was one of the best closers. I would put him on the list. Gary Sheffield, no. Todd Helton, no. If you're looking at the steroid era, I do think Manny Ramirez should get in. I mean, 555 homers, 1,800 RBIs. That's only, 1,831 RBIs is only 165 less RBIs than Barry Bonds. Like, the dude was fearful. He had a 312 career batting average, a 411 career on-base percentage, a 585 slugging percentage, and a career OPS plus of 154. Get in, Manny Ramirez. I would vote him in. So I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 with Billy Wagner. I got 5 with Manny Ramirez. Here's the thing that I don't think that people are going to like. I like Andrew Jones. And I get that this is going to be a homer take, but the dude had 11 Gold Glove awards. He was one of the best center fielders of all time. He really was. Like, defensively, he was the best center fielders of all time. Like, let's just look at Andrew Jones for a quick second. So, in his prime, when he first got started, there was only 2 seasons where he played 100 games and didn't hit at least 20 homers. And it was, what was it? It was, or at least 30 homers, I should say. It was 1997, 1999, and 2007. Those are the only 3 times where he hit less than 30 homers after playing over 100 games. Let's see, with the Atlanta Braves, he had his entire prime with the Atlanta Braves. So let's just look at his 12-year prime. His career stats. So he had, he had 1,700 hits, over 1,000 runs. He had 330 doubles, 34 triples, 368 homers, 1,117 RBIs. He had 138 stolen bases, a 263 batting average, a 342 on-base percentage, a 497 slugging percentage, and a career OPS plus of 114, while simultaneously winning a Gold Glove every single season from 1998 to 2007. That seems like a Gold Glover to me. He got hurt in 2008 when he was with the Dodgers. He only played 75 games. He had 1 season where he played 100 games, more than that, and he finished with 19 homers, 48 RBIs with the Chicago White Sox, and then he had 2 more years. He only had 1 year where he finished with less than 10 homers. That was actually his rookie year, and at 31 games, and then he had another one where he was injured. He had 3 homers in 75 games with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that that's worthy of Andrew Jones getting in the Hall of Fame. That's just me. So I would have him on there. Andy Pettitte, I don't think he will get in because he was busted for steroids. I don't think he has that great of a resume, to be completely honest. He has 256 wins, 153 losses, a 4 ERA. I'm not so sure about that one, pal. But out of the new guys, the new list is kind of strange. So there's been a lot of talks at Mark Buehrle. They want Mark Buehrle in. He has 214 wins, 160 losses, a 381 ERA, an ERA plus of 117. Let's see, he pitched 3,200 almost 3,300 innings. Like, the guy was insane. He was insanely durable. But I haven't heard a lot of talks about Tim Hudson and how they want Tim Hudson into the Hall of Fame. But Tim Hudson has better stats in every single category. He has more wins. He has less losses. Like, he has 8 more wins. He has 27 less losses. His ERA is at 3.49 to Burley's 3.81. He has an ERA plus of 1.20 to Mark Burley's 1.17. His WHIP is lower. Like, just everything about it. More wins in less games. He's played 36 less games, and he has more wins. Like, it's, I don't know. He only has 160 less innings. 160 less innings in 30 games. What's that ratio? It's like 5 innings apiece. Like, I don't know. I don't know about Mark Burley. Tim Hudson, I think, gets in. I think the only surefire Hall of Famer that you can't even argue on the list is Torrey Hunter. Like, if Torrey Hunter does not get in, I think the whole term first ballot Hall of Famer is dumb, to be completely honest. So I'm not a big fan of that. Like, if he's a Hall of Famer, he's a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter what year it is. Like, if you look at career stats, he has about 2,452 hits. He has 353 homers, 1,200, almost 1,300 runs, almost 1,400 RBIs, almost like just south of 200 steals. He's a career OPS plus of 110. He's a 5-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger. Let's see, what's his career highs look like? He has a career high in Minnesota in 2006 with 31 jacks. He had a career high 107 RBIs in 2007 with Minnesota. The highest, he finished 6th in the MVP voting, was his highest. Let's see. I mean, the dude was consistent. That's really all you can say. He was consistent throughout his entire career. He played 19 years. Let's see. Once he hit, once he hit 2001, he was just. Let's just look at his stats from 2001 on. 27 homers, 92 RBIs, won a Gold Glove. 29 homers, 94 RBIs, won a Gold Glove. 26 homers, 102 RBIs, won a Gold Glove. 23 homers, 81 RBIs, won a Gold Glove. 14 homers, 56 RBIs in an injury-plagued season where he only played in 98 games, still won a Gold Glove. 31 homers, 98 RBIs, still won a Gold Glove. 28, 107, won the Gold Glove and was an All-Star. 21 homers, 78 RBIs, won a Gold Glove. 22 homers, 90 RBIs, won a Gold Glove, All-Star, Silver Slugger. 23 homers, 90 RBIs, All-Star. 23 homers, 82 RBIs. 16 homers, 92 RBIs. 17 homers, 84 RBIs, All-Star, Silver Slugger. 17 homers, 83 RBIs. And then 22 homers, 81 RBIs. That's just a model of consistency throughout. His lowest batting average was 240, and that was his age 39 season, his last year in Minnesota. Let's see, his OPS plus, his lowest career OPS plus was his last year in Minnesota at 39 years old. Like, the guy was just a complete model of consistency throughout his entire career from 2000 and on. It's something that, you know, when you got Torrey Hunter on the field, you know what you're going to get. And that was just, I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's 100% a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think that anybody really could argue, and I don't think anybody else is going to get on this list. I think Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter's going to get in. Dan Herron, 153 wins, 131 losses. I don't think so. Barry Zito, at the start of his career, he looked like it, but he ended with 163 wins, 143 losses. He had a rough go of it in San Francisco. Aramis Ramirez, I don't think so. Shane Victorino, I highly doubt. AJ Burnett, God, no. He's 164 and 157, no. Nick Swisher, I don't see it. LaTroy Hawkins, 75, 94. Let's see, how many saves did he have? Saves. 127 saves. And a 75 and 94 record. He also holds the lowest OPS plus on this list with negative 100. I think that's hilarious. He's in his career, he had 8 at-bats, and I think he K'd 8 times. It doesn't say how many strikeouts he had. And then Michael Kadire, no. I really don't think that Michael Kadire is going to get on this list, especially since he played a very long time and he didn't even crack 200 homers or 1,000 RBIs. He had 794 career RBIs. He's going to be off the list in a second. So that's my list. My list is Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Billy Wagner, Manny Ramirez, Andrew Jones, Tim Hudson, and Torrey Hunter. Those are really the only guys that are going to be getting my votes. And Sammy Sosa. I'll give Sammy Sosa a vote mainly because if I'm letting in all the other steroid guys, I gotta let Sammy Sosa in. Especially since it's his 9th year. I don't think he's ever gonna get in. I really don't. But I do think the other guys are gonna get in. Alright, everybody, that is my last break. I'm going to be going into my last break, and then I'll be right back with our free agent focus of the week, and that is going to be a closer by the name of Liam Hendriks.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Y'all know what time it is. It is the free agent focus. So we're back talking about Liam Hendriks. He's 31 years old, free agent this year. All the projections I've seen from his contract is going to be about $12 million a year for, I would say, probably like 4 to 5 years. So I would say between 4 for 48, 5 for 60, roughly. So he's definitely out of the price range of the Oakland Athletics. I do not expect him to come back to the Oakland A's. This year, over the past 2-year stretch, he's posted a 1.79 ERA, a 161 strikeouts, 24 walks, 110 and a third innings for the Oakland Athletics. So he's earned all that money, and he's definitely up and out of Oakland. So we have a lot of teams actually are in the hunt for his services. I'm just going to go through a few of them because I'm not trying to sit here for 20 minutes talking about every single team and why it makes sense, especially because it's a lot of the normal candidates. So number one, the team that's probably going to spend the most money for Liam Hendriks is the Philadelphia Phillies. I feel like if they can get him, it'll make it harder to sign JT Realmuto, but I feel like they can do both. I definitely feel like that they can pull out both, and they need it the most because the Phillies, they had the highest bullpen ERA in the majors last year. They had a 7.06 bullpen ERA, and they tied the MLB lead for most blown saves with 14. 14 blown saves in 60 games. That is a lot. That is way too much, obviously, for any normal season, and they only missed the postseason by one single game. So bullpen is definitely a huge need. The relief, the relief team has, it's got a different look. So they got Tommy Hunter, Brandon Workman, David Phelps, Blake Hunter, Jose Alvarez, Adam Morgan, Heath Hembury. They got Hector Neris. He's a candidate to be non-tendered before the December 2nd deadline. So, if they could add Liam Hendriks to really bolster that bullpen and solidify the back end of it, close out games, be reliable. It's really all you need is to be reliable. The Phillies looks like they could finally take that leap that we've been waiting them to take the past 2 years now, because their offense is fine, especially with Alec Baum, Rhys Hoskins. Bryce Harper, and then if you're able to get Real Muto back, it's a pretty hefty lineup. And if they do go out and re-sign Didi, that team's gonna be really hard to beat. Number 2 is the Angels, obviously, because the Angels need every single pitcher on the market. The Angels need. Let's see. The team saves leader last year was Hansel Robles. The team's saves leader in 2019, Hansel Robles, had a 10.6 ERA in 2020. They were tied with Philly for the most blown saves in the majors with 14. Their bullpen ERA was 4.63, which was the 10th highest in baseball. Improving their starting rotation is just as much of a necessary, especially since they only really have 3 starters under contract from last season. So Liam Hendriks is a necessity, but he's not at the top of the list, so I don't think that he will be going to the Los Angeles Angels. One candidate or one team that's buying for him right now, I feel like is a really good chance, and that's mainly because I feel like they have a good chance with everybody, and that is the San Francisco Giants. So the Giants finished with a 29-31 record. The Brewers had the tiebreaker, and they missed the postseason for the 4th straight year. In San Francisco, if they had a better closer, they would have got it. They blown, Trevor Gott, Tyler Rogers, and Sam Coonrod. That is a weird name. Sam Coonrod. They combined to blow 7 of their 17 save chances. So, legitimately, if they had not blown a single one, if they had just blown 6 out of their 17 save chances, they would have made the postseason, but they didn't. Liam Hendriks, it's kind of a thing to where, the A's bring somebody up and they pitch very well, and then they are looking to get paid, and the Giants flex their checkbooks and they throw them a little extra coin. They cross the pond and go to the San Francisco Giants. San Fran, they're sneaky for everybody. I'm telling you, man, there's something in my gut that the Giants are going to make a move either this year or next year. Like one of these 2 years, they're either making a subtle blow this year and going for the haymaker next year, or they're going to go for the haymaker this year and a subtle signing next year and absolutely just go right back to being the dominant force that they were in the early parts of the decade. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is the Blue Jays. So Ken Giles, he's battled injuries. He went to Tommy John surgery, and so they might be getting him back next year, but no guarantees that he's going to be at full strength ever. So Liam Hendriks is a really good piece to where he can, even if they do get Ken Giles back at full strength, you put Ken Giles as an 8th inning guy and then Liam Hendriks in the 9th, that's a pretty damn good 1-2 punch. Or, if you need 3 saves in a row, you go Hendriks. You can go Hendriks, Giles, Hendriks. You can go Giles, Hendriks, Giles. You have 2 solidified star closers at the back end of the bullpen that you can alternate, especially with those long series where it's, you got to play every day for, 13, 14, 15 days before you get your next off day. That you need like at least 2. You see the Yankees where they had, Adam Ottavino, they have Aroldis Chapman, they had Dellin Betances before he left. Those are 3 like pretty big closers that are damn near interchangeable at the back end of the bullpen for all those big stretches. Especially as Aroldis Chapman gets older, you kind of you see teams build around multiple closers. Like the Dodgers right now, they have Kenley Jansen. They could use Joe Kelly as a closer. I mean, they used Julio Urias as a closer in the World Series, and then they had Brewstar Gratterall, who looks and has the build of a closer and a lights out closer to begin to at that. So I feel like the Blue Jays have a good chance of going after Liam Hendricks. I don't feel like they're going to get him, but I feel like they're definitely in the hunt. Another team in the hunt is the Houston Astros. So Roberto Ozuna, Brad Peacock, Chris Davinsky, and Joe Biagini. I don't know how to say his name, but they all missed significant time due to injuries. They had to rely heavily on rookies, not only in the starting rotation but in the back end. And Andre Scrub, Blake Taylor, and Enoli Paredes. They came out of the bullpen in 2020. Ryan Presley, he handled the closer's role fairly well. So especially with, the way that the Houston Astros, their franchise is going, Jose Altuve has hopefully he doesn't suffer from the yips. Well, I mean, I wouldn't wish the yips on anybody. I hope he doesn't suffer from them. I just want him to just play baseball and not cheat and see how good he can be. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think it's too in his head. But we'll see. Carlos Correa is just being he's off the rails. Alex Bregman hasn't said a word in forever. George Springer looks like he's leaving. A lot of players are talking about how they don't want to be in Houston anymore. They could overpay. I think the only way that they could get Liam Hendricks is if they do overpay. They're going to have to flex that checkbook and just be like, listen, dude, here's a blank check. Just tell us what you want, and we'll give it to you. I think that's the only way that they can really get him. Especially since obviously, they made it to the ALCS last year and made it within a couple games. I think one game of the World Series, but I don't think that I think their years of contending are pretty much, they're ending. They've had a long run. They've had one of the longer runs in baseball, going from 2017 to 2020. A 3-year run in baseball is pretty much about as good as it gets. You haven't seen a team have a 3-year run like this besides the Dodgers have, but the Dodgers are a special case because they just keep buying more players left and right. But I would say normally, you don't really see 3-year runs like this in a really long time. Even the Giants, when they won 3 and 6 years, they didn't. In the even years, they didn't make the playoffs. They win the World Series, struggle, win the World Series, struggle, win the World Series, struggle. It was kind of weird, but it is what it is. San Diego Padres, they're definitely up there. They've added Drew Pomeranz, Emilio Pagan, Tim Hill. They have an elite closer with Kirby Yates. Yates is coming off an injury, so you never really know. They did add Trevor Rosenthal. They added him in this offseason. He's a free agent. Yates is also a free agent. So, I could see them going after re-signing Kirby Yates, re-signing Trevor Rosenthal, and then trying to get Liam Hendricks as a 3-headed monster in the back end of the bullpen, kind of like the Yankees do. That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know if they'll be able to do that. They have the money for it because they're just writing checks left and right. It doesn't really matter to them, but we'll see about that. I do think the Padres do have a chance. Not a good chance, but they do have a chance and do need him. And then we have the Minnesota Twins. So the Minnesota Twins, they got Tyler Clippard, Trevor May, Sergio Romo reaching, they're going towards free agency. You have Taylor Rogers, Tyler Duffy, Matt Weisler. They're still, in the mix. But Rogers, as we saw last season, was very inconsistent. Weisler had a 5.20 career ERA before last season, where he really buckled down and had a 1.07. So Hendricks, he started his big league career with the Twins back in 2011, if anybody remembers that. So, you could possibly see a reunion. But, we'll see. I doubt the Twins will go after him. Or he will go back, I should say. I highly doubt it. They're one of the least, they're one of the lowest teams, I think, that are in the hunt. We have about 3 more, starting with the White Sox. If they don't sign Alex Colomé, they could definitely use Kendricks. They could turn they have Aaron Bummer, Evan Marshall, Garrett Crochet, Matt Foster, but I could feel like, they could keep those guys for the middle innings and then just go out and spend money on Liam Hendriks. I think that's possible, especially since they're giving up Alex Colomé and they're so close to making that push for the World Series. I would not be surprised if they went out and, really spent some big money on Liam Hendriks. The Boston Red Sox, there's been rumblings going around that George Springer is getting courted by the Red Sox. Some big pitchers are getting, like Trevor Bauer has been, in Boston talking to Red Sox representatives a few times, or I think it was just once. But, you got George Springer, you got some big guys. You can never rule out the Red Sox, especially since they traded Mookie Betts and they have more money. They're one of the best teams, like cap-wise, because there is no cap, but, they're one of the richest teams. That's what I'm trying to say. They're one of the richest teams of baseball. They have a ton of room. They're looking to shop JD Martinez, which doesn't make sense because they got rid of Mookie Betts instead of keeping JD Martinez. So why? And then 1 year later, they're kind of looking to get rid of him. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So with Liam Hendriks, their pitching was awful last year. It was really, really, really bad. You need to start with the back end of the bullpen. If you're, when you're attacking the bullpen, you need someone to close out games, because games that you're winning, you have to win. You can't keep blowing games like that. It's just terrible for morale. So I could see the Red Sox just blowing a bunch of money on Liam Hendriks. And then lastly, the Washington Nationals. So the Nationals, they're out here, they're hunting down free agents. They're looking for some more, some more assets. Everybody kind of slept on them the last year because they had a lot of players, they had a lot of players sit out, take the year off because of COVID. But, with them going after Chris Bryant potentially, Sean Doolittle's a free agent. Daniel Hudson had a 6.10 ERA last year. Liam Hendriks could be a very good fit. He could be paired up with Tanner Rainey as a closer. It's just, I would look out for the Washington Nationals. I feel like they're up there with the San Francisco Giants as the sneaky team that could, really buy Liam Hendriks as just kind of one of those, like, out of nowhere from the top rope, like, we're coming back, and we're coming back just as hard for the World Series in 2021. All right, everybody, that is our show. We'll be back on Tuesday with a brand new episode. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your families, and be sure to enjoy the Thanksgiving weekend. You can follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23. You can play me in Tap Baseball if you are bored. The nickname is EvanWorley23, and I would like to thank you for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review, because it really helps us out. And also, if you could follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all, and have a great weekend.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.